Hi guys, welcome to my channel and to my journey in beauty. Today's video is a palette bingo with the BH Weekend Festival palette. So I did go ahead and pick up this palette a little while ago. I had some Kohl's Cash to use it, was scrolling through the site, looking at makeup of course, and I saw this puppy on there. It was on sale. I had enough Kohl's Cash, so I went ahead and pulled the trigger because this palette has been on my mind since it was released. I thought this would be a fun way to bust it out on my channel, as well as maybe give you guys a few first impressions because I haven't used it yet. So we're going to go ahead and generate our numbers now. My girl Annette over at Annette's Makeup Corner, I'll have her link below, but she was teasing me last time I did a palette bingo saying that I was supposed to pull 5 numbers because bingo has 5 letters. So I'm going to be brave and do that today. And if it doesn't turn out, it's all her fault. So, all right, let's go ahead and draw some numbers. The first number is 18. That is this lime green shimmer shade right here called Neon, and it definitely is. That's the first shade. All right, the second shade, number 5. That is this warm matte brown, maybe terracotta shade right here called Escape. Yep, warm brown it looks like. Not too shabby. That was a horrible swatch. There you go. All right. Next, number 11. Interesting. That's this purple right here called Swag, and it is a really nice shade. So far we're doing really well. This is what we got. And next, number 13. That's the shade I was hoping I would get. It's this shade right here called Spirit. And it is one of the duochromes that I was talking about in this palette. It's a stunning shade. There you go. It's kind of a pink and blue or purple and blue duochrome with a white base. 9. So number 9 is this shade Magical, which also kind of looks like a duochrome. Let's see when we swatch it out. This is horrible. I've never even swatched this, but we do what we can. So yeah, it's like a gold with kind of a pink shift. It's kind of similar to a shade in the Soft Glam palette from Anastasia. So these are the shades that we're working with. And let's go ahead and jump into this. All right, I think I know what we're going to do, so let's just give this a shot. I'm going to wait to do my blush and highlighter to the end. If you think my face looks blank, it is. I just have base products on. So I think I'm gonna go in first with this warm brown shade and really try to go lightly and blow it out as a transition shade. Okay. So, and that shade is called Escape. Whoa, talk about your kick up there. Just placing this right on the outer V of my eye and my crease, getting off the bulk of the pigment before I start doing windshield wiper motions. And that's what really helps me. I will say I did prime my eyes, but I did not set my primer. I wanted to give these shadows, you know, I wanted to see how they would perform without the base being set, because that's kind of how I've been doing my shadow lately, and I'm really liking it. I think my shadows are more pigmented. I think it's less layers of powder on my eyes, so they don't look so dry and wrinkly and old. So I'm really impressed with how that blended out, to be honest, especially with not having my base set. Alrighty then, I think next we're going to go in with that purple shade in the crease called Swag. That's a pretty cute name. Let's see here. I'm gonna take this pretty small brush here because I need to be very direct where I place this. I'm also gonna put this on the outer corner of my eye. So that's where I'm going to start my brush and just kind of dab it in there first. Keeping it to about the outer third of the lid, and then once I have the bulk of the pigment off, I'm going to blend it into the crease, and I may have to do this a couple of times. I feel like I got pretty darn lucky with the shades that I drew. That is a really nice shade. I love this sort of orchidy purple kind of shade. With hooded eyes, I don't know how many of you out there have hooded eyes. It actually seems to be fairly common the more I watch YouTube, but it's totally okay to close your eye if you have hooded eyes. I know I see so many people are like, keep your eyes open while you're doing your eyeshadow. Well, if you're really placing it on that lid and you have hooded eyes, it's virtually impossible. So, just saying. Not every technique works for everybody. Going back in our first shade, Escape, and just taking a tiny bit on the same brush I used for the purple, which I wiped off a little bit, and just gonna go right on the edges of the purple, just to have a little warmth peeking out from the purple. So the next shade I'm going to go into is this lime green shade right here, which is called Neon, and definitely part of the reason I bought this palette. I'm just gonna put that right out there. And I'm gonna go in with it dry first. That's my preferred method. I like to put that right on top of the primer, and then if I need to punch it up with a wet brush, I find that the wet shadow applies better for me over the dry base of shadow. Like, it sticks better to itself when it's wet versus directly to the primer. This is a very glittery shade. I don't know if you can kind of see the texture of it on the brush. It's beautiful though, I will say that. I think I actually have used this now that I'm thinking about it. I used this in my Halloween collab with Angela, my Halloween glam look. So I will link that for you. That was a really fun just little video to do, just a look using Halloween colors. I thought it was really fun. So I've been mulling this thing over in my mind. I think that's good for the lime green. I'm gonna take that brush that we used for the purple and just lightly tap over the edge so that we have a blend. But mulling this kind of big thing over for my channel next year, and I'm not wholly committed to the idea yet. I'm kind of curious what you guys would think. And it is, how many of you, I'm gonna put a poll in the cards for you, or you can comment down below with your answer. How many of you would still watch my channel if I went on a no-buy next year and concentrated on what I already have in my collection? Just creative content, you know, not an overload of project pans, not an overload of me talking about my no-buy, but just me going on a no-buy and bringing you guys on that journey in beauty of using what you have to create your own new releases, so to speak. So I'm just curious about that. It's not that I wouldn't still do it if you guys were like, nah, unsubscribe. I just am curious. It is something that I'm mulling in my mind, like I said, and I'm just curious. And definitely the person that has led me to considering that is Louise Posten. I've talked about her several times recently on my channel. I think she's fantastic. I'm gonna link her down below. And she's doing a no-buy year, and I find it I find it so inspiring. And not even about the not buying the makeup part, which is definitely a part of it, but more so, I'm gonna go in with that gold shade Magical that we drew. But mostly just because she's like using what she has. She's learning, you know, about the things in her collection that she maybe hasn't played with a lot, things like that. And I just find that so intriguing. This latter part of this year, I'm really getting to the point where I'm overwhelmed with my collection. Like I'm talking about this palette today that I really haven't even used, and I've had it for a month or two now, and it was because I was filming other stuff about other new palettes that I had, and it's, you know, almost to the point of being ridiculous, or maybe it is, and I just don't want to admit it. So I'm just curious. Like I said, I'm not 100% committed to the, you know, the thought of doing a year-long no-buy. But of course, as the people who watch my videos, I would just love to know what you think about that. I will say too, just in closing about that topic, that I don't think it will affect my content whatsoever in terms of continuing to have interest for whatever subscribers, you know, would choose to stay. So just putting that out there. I have lots of content and I have a lot of makeup to do a lot of content. So all right, I actually like how that's looking. I'm gonna go ahead and do the lower lash line now, and I'm gonna do kind of the same thing that I did on top, except for I'm going to start with the purple right up against the lash line, the shade Swag, and then I'm going to buff it out with the brown called Escape. And the last shade we have to use is that duochrome shade, which, you know, we're gonna put on the inner corner, of course. Also, by now, my help me choose my Pan That palette for 2019 video is up. If you haven't watched it yet, I would absolutely love and appreciate for you guys to go watch it and weigh in on the, you know, options for palettes that I might pan in 2019. You know, I just really want to make a good choice this year. I did not make, I mean, I made a good choice in terms of my Lorac Mega Pro 2, which I don't need to show you, but in terms of my Naked 3, that was a complete fail. I hated every moment of that, and, you know, so I ended up scrapping that. And because I was forcing myself to use the Naked 3 all year, or, you know, as long as I had my project going, then, you know, I wasn't working on my Pan That palette that I actually wanted to work on. So we're gonna call that a wash and start over next year. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that video and, you know, which palette you think I should work on painting next year. I just love the color that it made under the eyes with the purple and blended out with the brown. All right, last shade is this one right here called Spirit, and that is definitely going on the inner corner. Not really sure how this is gonna work out because, you know, we have gold on the innermost part of the eye, but that's what palette bingo is all about, and we might just love it, you know? This is kind of a messy palette, I will say that. So, this is the look so far. I'm gonna go ahead and do liner, mascara, and finish my face, and then we will come back for lips and then wrap this puppy up. Okie dokie, we are ready for lips, and I am going to use a lip liner. Aren't you excited? Okay, just to tell you what I put on my face and why I went in with the e.l.f. Mellow Mauve blush. I don't know if you'll be able to see here, but it has a cool tone shift to it. So I thought it would help offset that cool tone highlight on the inner corner. And then I also chose from the Emily Edit the Needs palette, her highlighter in the shade Gratitude, because again, it is got some cool tone reflex. So I thought that would help kind of tie everything in together, and I feel like I did that. So for lips, I'm gonna go in with the NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream. This is their version of a liquid lipstick, in case you don't know, and this is in the shade Cans. And for lip liner, I changed my mind. I'm gonna use my Janta Bleu lip liner in Brown Sugar from Boxy Charm. For how crappy their eyeliner was, their lip liner is fantastic, and I think they run $5, so just putting that out there. And I also really love the NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream formula. It is for sure my favorite liquid lipstick formula. They're long lasting, but they're super comfortable. When it says lip cream, that's what it feels like. It feels very creamy. So, just a few quick thoughts on the BH Weekend Festival palette. Clearly I haven't used every shade. I've barely delved into this, but just my first impressions. While there is quite a bit of kick up in the pan, I find that that's because these shadows, the matte shadows, are very pigmented. There's not as much kick up in the shimmer shades. I did get a little tiny bit of fallout on my face from this green one, but you know, maybe if you do go in wet straight off the bat, it might adhere, or use a glitter glue, which is always an option. I just don't think about it. But yeah, I can't wait to dive into this some more. Let me know in the comments if there's any specific videos you'd like to see me do with this palette, 3 looks 1 palette, use every shade in the palette, that kind of thing. So I'm not at all disappointed that I picked that up for free. And I hope all of your makeup days are beautiful makeup days, and I will see you in my next video soon.